The following segment is sponsored by Daniel A. White and Associates.
The Rick Jensen Show on 101.7 FM, 1150 AM, WDEL, and streaming to your smart speaker and mobile device.
Welcome. Glad you're here. Every Wednesday afternoons at 1:30, Dan White or an Associates of Dan White and Associates calls in with a great tip. They are financial planners specializing in retirement income. And I've been a happy client for these guys for many, many years. And I love them all. Andrew Wood is a great guy. He's in Middletown. And he and I were actually just talking off the air about not financial planning, but heating your home. And it's really, because it really is topical. And I know you didn't expect me to bring this on the air as well, but I was talking about the fact that I got a fireplace insert because my house was built in 1947. And the chimney inside was starting to fall apart a little bit, and I'm really, really happy. Smaller firebox, Andrew. I don't know. I know you're going to get one put in because you said so, but I'm used to that great big, large fireplace with the fire raging and everything, right? And they got a smaller firebox now, but man, these things, they really do heat the room. And I thought you had a larger house than I do, but you're in North Wilmington. And when was your house built?
I think 73, 74, something like that.
Yeah. So my house is about 2,000 square feet. And I think my living room was like, what? I don't have a measure, about 24 by, 16 or something. Not that big. You're going to love it.
Well, let me tell you, I love the area. I love the location, so I'm not going anywhere, but no, my mother-in-law actually got me into it, and I don't know. We shouldn't probably talk about this on air, but
why not?
It's for energy efficiency. It's not going to, supposedly not going to pull all the heat out of your house. It's more of just heating the house. So when the fire needs fuel, it's going to pull air from your home. So those boxes are really good for efficiency. So
exactly, that's what I've learned. Mine doesn't even have like what you consider to be a traditional flue. It's got a little vent there in the bottom, and it's not pulling the air out of the house. Anyway, I love it. I didn't think I would, especially when I had a half a quart of wood, Andrew, and it was for the old bigger fireplace. And then I had to get one of these splitters you get off Amazon where you set it on the ground. It's cast iron, and it has a big cast iron blade on it. So you set the log on top of it, and you whack that log with a maul, and it splits the wood down that way. I thought, this is fun. I'm hitting stuff and breaking it. I'm enjoying this. But it took a while to get it all done. I know, you didn't expect to talk about this on the air. It's throwing you off. I understand. But it saves money. I'll tell you what, I had the house at like 64 degrees, and it was heating downstairs. I love it. What?
So the funny thing is you're leading into what I wanted to talk about was kind of the affordability issues. Things are expensive, and now we got a snowstorm coming in here. And I mean, I don't remember the last time I lost power, but I do remember the 90s being not yet a teenager or even a teenager, and going through 93. I guess that was the ice storm. 96 was the blizzard, and with losing power and and needing heat. I remember burning pizza boxes in the fireplace. But anyway, but there is an affordability issue that's specifically in the housing market.
Yeah,
that I think everyone is aware of and is being impacted by. And I'm not here to talk about the administration itself, but they are talking about trying to deal with the affordability issue and try to help Americans with home buying plans. And this has been proposed, and it's not officially in place yet, but I don't know if you're aware of this, but currently there's already a first-time home buyer exception that allows penalty-free withdrawals for up to $10,000 from really IRA accounts, but they do not include 401ks. And the administration is actually talking about potentially allowing people to use their 401ks for home down payments. And they haven't really talked about any caps yet, so they're still working out all the intricacies and all the details of it. But they're thinking this could be an opportunity for individuals to help afford purchasing homes, which obviously has been a huge issue, whether it's interest rates, all the articles I read, they talk about private equity, and I know that's going to be addressed to private equity buying these homes, for rent and all kinds of stuff. But
can I join in this a little back and forth? Can we?
Sure.
Thanks, I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely.
I have a couple opinions about this, and I'm not saying that you have an opinion about this. You're just talking about the facts, but I have some concerns about this. So, people are saving for retirement. They take money out of the 401k, and maybe there's no penalty, and maybe they don't have to pay the money back. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but you've taken money out of your retirement plan to buy a home. And
Yep.
It seems to me that this doesn't solve the problem. As a matter of fact, it feeds the beast. It doesn't reduce the cost of housing, whether it's buying a house or even renting or anything like that. That simply says, oh, here's another source of funds that people can use to buy a house that's extraordinarily overpriced compared to your average 4% increase per year of value of a home, going back to, like, say, 2018, 2019. That's my concern, is that it doesn't fix the inherent problem of pricing and cost. It actually feeds the beast.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you there. In fact, I think that's a lot of the issues that we see in other areas of the economy, that more money is not necessarily the answer, because if they know there's more accessible money, then what's going to drive down the cost? It's only going to drive them up. But they are talking about potentially incorporating some other things, like, again, limiting access to maybe private equity, things like that, bringing down interest rates and all kinds of things.
And on that one, on that
yeah.
one, I want to jump in because people think it's BlackRock buying. No, BlackRock does not buy homes. BlackRock is an investment company. They own stock in a lot of businesses, especially a lot of big businesses. But it's a company that's split off from them for many, many years, and they're no longer contractually or physically related to them. It's called Blackstone. And Blackstone is a different company than BlackRock. And they own something like right around 1% of single-family homes to rent. Now, there are big corporations own apartment buildings. But if we're talking about single-family homes, I mean, yes, 1%'s a big number, and it's 1%, Blackstone. So I understand the concern. I have a concern about these big corporations buying homes and renting them out to people, so that actually exacerbates the problem when it comes to affordability. But I just wanted to kind of put that in perspective, please. Thank you.
Of course. Again, they're exploring a lot of different options. In terms of the 401k idea, obviously you just need to be cautious. You don't if they do allow it. Hopefully they put some limitations on it in terms of how much you can pull out. Because again, really what you're doing there. We work with retirees, and obviously 401k for most people is going to be their largest nest egg that they can retire from. So are you hurting yourself long term?
Yeah.
And that's obviously could be a tremendous issue. But then they're also saying maybe you should be looking at your house as an asset, and I don't necessarily agree with that either, because quite frankly, they may be assets that you hold, but we live in them.
Yeah, I know.
Cost money too.
And Andrew, I could tell you, and you're really a smart guy. I mean, you really are, and one of the most decent guys I know. You really are that smart. And I know you're going to be having these conversations with people. You have to do it in a question format and find out what's important to them. Lately, when I talk about personal finance, I say something that has never been talked about out loud before. Well, a number of different things that haven't been talked out loud before. But one is people say, well, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, people say, well, you got to take care of your largest asset at your house. And I'm thinking, oh, God, I hope not. I hope your house is not your largest asset. I hope that you've met somebody like Andrew or Dan Simon or Don, anybody who works in the business, and they got you investing into your retirement account at a very, very early age, in your 20s or at least in your early 30s. Your retirement, your 401k, your IRA, that should be your biggest asset, and your home, I believe, should be your second biggest asset. Now, I don't know if you agree with me, but it seems to me that that's the way it ought to be these days.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. I'll tell you that. I am one of those people. I don't think I've fallen for the larger, the larger home thing. That's not me. but I know, and it's not necessarily a trap, but people do fall into that where they just want more and more and more.
I think that's brilliant of you, by the way, because you're in this business, and I know that I don't know. I haven't seen your tax records, but I know that you're successful. You do very, very well. And I'm the same way. I could have bought a much bigger house a few years ago, but instead I decided to do some investment real estate. And I thought, and I'm glad I did, although I'm also kind of disappointed because I'd love to have a 2,400 square foot rambling ranch in North Wilmington. I really would. And that would be perfect. However, in 2018, you can get one of those puppies for like $350,000. Now it's $500,000. It needs a new kitchen and bathroom.
Right.
I know.
It's fascinating.
But we're the same that way. We're rather frugal, and now we have assets that are greater in our retirement plans. And I do believe that's extraordinarily important.
I do agree with you. But, again, just coming back to the affordability issues, I don't know, what they haven't ironed out the plan yet, but I do know they're looking at different avenues. That could be one of them, is allowing people to have access to their 401ks for a down payment on the home. Yeah. Trying to bring down interest rates. They're looking at the private equity side of things, and, does that make sense? Maybe it's a combination of some or all of them. I don't know. But, again, if this does open up for the 401ks, I just advise people to be cautious, understand what they're getting, and understand that, you could use this, but you could also be sacrificing your future too.
And I'll be the one to say, folks, do this. Talk with somebody who's experienced in this field before you do that, like Andrew Wood, and, he's in the Middletown office of Dan White and Associates, 888-690-8820, 888-690-8820, and sit down. He won't charge anything, and have a meaningful conversation. I've learned so much from you and Dan White especially, and others in the business over the years, to know that sometimes, in fact, most times, it makes a lot of sense to sit down with somebody who's in the business, and if you like them and trust them, then keep using them as a source of information. Yeah, I would be very concerned about this. I have had an uncle who used to buy life insurance, whole life policies, and then throughout his life, he would borrow from them to buy a car or whatever he had to do, right? Braces for the kids. And then he would pay that back. And I remember I was a little kid, and I overheard him and my parents talking about this kind of stuff. And I asked, well, why would you do that? He said, well, because the insurance policy is mine, the money in it is mine, and it's like I'm paying myself back. And that was one of my first exposures to this whole idea of planning financial expenses in the future. I thought, that's kind of interesting. And it turned out later it's actually quite smart. If anybody buys whole life anymore. But anyway. And that's
absolutely. I mean, there's different advantages of doing that. And I mean, the good news too, especially now, there's so many resources out there that you can learn more about, some of those types of strategies. But, things like that can be, very beneficial for an individual. Yeah.
And if you really want to, this guy had he thought the stock market was like Las Vegas, and he would never put any money in the stock market. It was psychological for him. He just had to have something that was absolutely completely safe. And unlike many of us who have a lot of diversified investments, he couldn't do that. So it's interesting though that because of this housing crisis, it is a cost crisis, that all these different opportunities might be coming their way. And I agree. People ought to be talking to someone like you before they make a decision on that. Is there anything else you want to go over?
That is it for the day. Just hope you stay warm this weekend and everybody stay safe and hopefully stay home.
Well, that's just it. Snowstorm coming. Looks like Sunday. Keep it here at WDEL and keep checking with WDEL Storm Watch and WDEL.com, and be listening every half hour for the forecast and all that. Andrew Wood, Dan White and Associates, financial planners specializing in retirement income, and Dan White himself hosts On the Money Sunday mornings at 7 here on 101.7 FM, 11:50 a.m. Sunday morning, streaming live at WDEL.com. Anything you want to add to this there, Andrew?
That is all. Appreciate
buddy.
having me. Thanks, Rick.
All right, take care, Andrew. Good guy. Appreciate that. All right, it's 302-529-1017.